How's it going, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Perfect Recall, where we take a look back at all the video game news you already know. And we had some pretty cool stuff happening this week, kind of headlined by the Nintendo Indie World, which is a Nintendo Direct focusing entirely on indie titles, some that came out right away and some that are coming out next year. We've got some other stuff to talk about this week, like some Blizzard departures and a couple of game delays. Why don't we get right into things? This past Wednesday was another edition of Nintendo's Indie World, which shows off some indie titles that are coming to the Switch, and we've got the full list, so why don't we go through it real quick. Kind of the big news of all of it was Axiom Verge 2. Axiom Verge 2, everybody knew that it was coming out, but we didn't quite know when it was coming out, and it showed up here, and it said it was out that day. So yeah, this past Wednesday, Axiom Verge 2 came out for PC, PS4, and Switch. The game looks great. It's very different than the first Axiom Verge, but still retains that, you know, Metroidvania style. I played a decent chunk of the first Axiom Verge. I kept getting lost, and unfortunately for me, if I keep getting lost and frustrated in a game, I kind of just give it up. But I've been really looking for something different to play lately. Something just not only just new to play because I'm kind of out of stuff to play, but also just something different, something I'm not used to playing, or something that, you know, maybe is going to challenge me a little bit more, and Axiom Verge 2 might be that game. So who knows, maybe in a couple weeks I pick it, you know, I would have picked it up by then and I can give some thoughts, but you know, we'll see. The game looks great though. I watched some gameplay footage of it, and it's super bright and colorful, cool emphasis on melee as opposed to the shooting of the first game, and just, yeah, really neat. Obviously, I think people have been really anxious for this game, and to just kind of get it as a surprise was awesome. Next after that was Boyfriend Dungeon, which is a dungeon crawling dating sim. It's pretty much exactly what you think it would be. Garden Story, it just kind of another one of those kind of cutesy, you know, Stardew Valley-esque, you know, looking games. You know, just kind of the thing that you get. You know what you're getting when you sign up for something like that. Islanders Console Edition, which is a little small Civ building kind of game. This has been out on PC for a while, but now it's finally coming to home systems. Necro Barista. Let's see. Those were all out, and then coming out later this year is Eastward. This is described as an emotional post-apocalyptic adventure. It's made by Chucklefish. They've made some popular stuff in the past. Tetris Effect Connected is coming out. My wife has recently gotten way back into Tetris Effect on her Xbox. She and I both played quite a bit of it on our Oculus, and I really enjoyed it. Next is Toem, which is a kind of a puzzle-solving game, but you're solving puzzles by taking photos. It's done in black and white. It's really striking looking. Definitely check it out if you're interested in something like that. Loop Hero coming home after being PC only, coming onto the Switch. That's a game that I didn't get into. I actually bought it when it came out, because I had every intention of playing it, and it just didn't happen. But watching people play it, I am very curious to see how that handles on a controller versus mouse and keyboard. Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, which is a match 3 puzzle game, just kind of shoehorned in with the Shovel Knight stuff. It's, you know, it's a match 3 game. It is what it is, you know, but, you know, I guess if you're a really big Shovel Knight fan, you can get it. And then the last of these games are not coming out till next year. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. This is the game that pretty much looks like the spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio. It's exactly that. I mean, it's made by people that obviously are heavily influenced and really love the Jet Set games, and it's just more of that. There's definitely people that are clamoring for another game like that. I'm really curious to see how much it actually sells, though. And not that I want it to sell poorly or anything, it's just that I think it's another example of these games that have, like, very fervent fan bases that finally get a sequel, and then it just doesn't really sell. It sells to those people, and then they kind of realize, like, oh, I thought there was more of us, but I guess we were just, like, a really loud vocal minority. After that is Far Changing Tides. This is a follow-up to Far Lone Sails. And then the last of which is the game that I'm probably the most excited about that we saw earlier this year during all the E3 stuff, which is Metal Slug Tactics, a tactical game set in the Metal Slug universe, and they showed off some gameplay of that. So yeah, I think it was a strong showing for Nintendo, a wide variety of games. I really like that they kind of divided it into, here's a handful of stuff that's coming out today, here's a handful of stuff that's coming out in a few months, and here's some stuff to look forward to next year, which I'm sure we'll get another look at later on down the line. So yeah, really well structured and well balanced, and it just kind of goes to show you that while Sony does a good job with their state of play and Microsoft with, I can't remember what they call their things, it really is kind of Nintendo setting the bar for what these digital presentations are. And I think it's probably because they've been doing it a little bit longer. You know, they switched over to doing this long before Sony and Microsoft did. This isn't just a COVID thing. They were doing this in lieu of having a live E3 presentation. So they very much know how to kind of hype things up and get it going. And then it was also announced this week that there's going to be another direct focus entirely on Pokemon, the Diamond and Pearl remakes, as well as Arceus, or Arceus. Yeah, I forget. That's coming out soon, and obviously I'll be covering that when it comes out. Arceus is the open world Pokemon game that's coming to Switch next year, which I am very excited about, and I think a lot of people are. So yeah, some exciting stuff coming from Nintendo. They don't have much in terms of like big first party stuff outside of that Diamond and Pearl remake, which I'm sure is going to sell a lot of copies and probably sell some Switches as well. Good timing on them because, hey, you've got these things, you've got the Switch OLED coming out. It makes for not a very underwhelming, but a very solid and probably very profitable holiday season for Nintendo this year. So yeah, if you didn't get a chance to check out the games that were announced that we just went over, definitely go out of your way, go check out the stuff that sounded interesting to you, because these games are definitely trying different things, and it'd be nice to support them, you know? We should definitely be taking a look at games that are kind of bucking the trends of everything else, and especially right now when COVID is delaying a lot of really big AAA titles, let's show some support to the smaller guys and pick up some of these games. So even if you're not a wrestling fan or a wrestling video game fan, you probably heard about WWE 2K20 when it came out. The game was an absolute and utter mess. It was buggy, glitchy, just really, really terribly made. I mean, just hands down, and I'm sorry if that's offending anybody that worked on that game, but my God, that game was not good. It was not in a shippable state by any stretch. You know, they patched it the best they could over time. You know, I picked the game up when it was on like a really, really deep discount, and even me, who's willing to put up with a lot in a wrestling game, I found it very difficult to play. They took the year off last year to kind of come back refreshed, recharged for WWE 2K22, which should be coming out. They typically come out in October. We got a trailer earlier this year around WrestleMania time in the spring, and that's it. But there was an article at Video Games Chronicle this week where Forbes writer Brian Mazik, I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong, he said that he had spoken to people familiar with the game's development who informed him that things were looking promising. That's quoting the VGC article. He's saying that they kind of like stripped it down and it's a complete rebuild of the series. Maybe, hopefully. I will tell you this, they've been reusing some of the same animations since like the PS2 days. There are power bombs and pile drivers in that game that look exactly the same that they did a decade plus ago. The thing that's really going to hamper this game, and I'm really curious if it still comes out this year, is that, and I don't mean to get too in the weeds with wrestling news, but it does very much impact their video game. WWE has been on a firing spree. They have let go over 52 members of their roster since the beginning of this year. So I apologize if you're hearing fireworks. There are a lot of fireworks going off all of a sudden. It was literally just pouring rain about 5 minutes ago. Oh, and one of my lights just went out. That's not good. Hang on 1 second. Okay, I am back. I know this is treating it more like a live stream, not a pre-recorded thing, but that was very weird. There's a bunch of fireworks that went off, and then all of a sudden one of my monitors turned off, and then like my internet window went away, and it was very bizarre. But picking up where I left off, yeah, a lot of roster members have been released, fired from WWE. So they had to make some big changes because these are people that would have 100% been in that video game. And we don't, obviously, now they have to remove them from just being able to pick them and play as them when you're playing with your friends or playing against a computer, but we don't know what kind of story mode they had or anything like that. They could have been vital to that for all we know. So I would honestly, at this point, be surprised if it ships at that traditional October window. And part of me would honestly be surprised if it ships this year at all. I could definitely see them pushing it off to the spring just because they have to play catch up with what WWE has been doing. So I hope the game is good. AEW's game may possibly be out next year. That's their primary competition. I have serious doubts about that game's quality, but, I haven't played it. We've seen very, very small amounts of gameplay of it. Remains to be seen. There is a real war going on the television networks between wrestling. Maybe we start seeing it on the video game front, and that competition makes the games a little bit better. So in game delay news, the Life is Strange Remastered Collection has been delayed to 2020 year, quoting, "Due to the ongoing challenges of the worldwide pandemic, it makes sense." This was supposed to be, obviously, a product that you could buy standalone, but it was also going to be tied in with a bundle with the new Life is Strange True Colors game. That game is still coming out. That's actually less than a month away. So they announced that, hey, we're pushing back the remaster collection. True Colors is still coming. We just need some extra time to make it. But then right after that, so that was on the 11th this week, and then yesterday, for those of you that are watching, I filmed this on Friday night, they announced that Life is Strange 2 Colors, just the Switch version, is being delayed. It says that they just can't quite do it, and it's going to be pushed off to some point later this year. They didn't say 2022, they just said some point later this year. I think people are looking forward to this game. The first two games were pretty well received. I never played the second one. I did play the first. And I think that they're well made. Obviously, the first one was made by Don't Nod, totally different company. They're off doing their own thing now, but still very similar style of game. And it's a shame that it has to be pushed off. I think, obviously, with less than a month away, I would have been surprised if the regular, PS4, PS5, Xbox Series X, One X, whatever you want to call it, those versions have been delayed this close to release date. I mean, obviously, we saw Cyberpunk get delayed very close to release date after it was announced it already went gold. So anything is possible at this point. But I think it's great that they're at least getting something out this year. And just, they're giving themselves some time to put the finishing touches on the remaster. Honestly, I will probably check out True Colors, but to be perfectly honest, I'm a little bit more interested in the remaster because I never finished the first Life is Strange. I played it, but I never finished it. And it'd be nice to be like, hey, this is a game that's been on my list of something I need to go back and play. Why not play this remastered version? It just gives me a little bit more incentive to pick it up and go through it. But yeah, we're going to see more and more delays. They're inevitable, and this is just another result of, the situation we're in from many of us working at home. And that's going to wrap up the news for this week. A little channel housekeeping. I greatly apologize for not having an episode of finally getting around to it up on this past Thursday. I had recorded it last weekend, but there was an issue with the audio where my audio was perfectly fine, but the game audio was very, very annoying to listen to. And it was essentially like, I guess I could just mute it, which was fine, and I didn't technically mind doing that, but I was like, I have a few days before it needs to go up. Why don't I just make another one? And then this past week, I just was not feeling good. And it got to the point where I was like, I guess I could put up that muted version, but is that really what I want to put up? And I ultimately decided that no video would be better than a video that was not at the quality that I wanted it to be. The series will be back next week. So I apologize for that, but cranking along at it. I really enjoy doing those because it is giving me that push to play some games I haven't played in a while or haven't played before ever. Unfortunately for me, I guess the games I've chosen so far have not been that great, but that's on me. Other than that, the next big video, which I keep bringing up, is coming. Today has been the day that I've had the most time to work on it in the past few weeks, and it is coming along, and it is coming along nice. And I can tell you this, and I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, nobody really watches these videos, so I'm essentially talking to nobody, but I can tell you this, the next video that I put up that is like the mainline video that isn't just, Perfect Recall, like the actual Perfect Reload video that used to be the push start videos, it is the most different thing that I have ever done. I have put well over 75 hours worth of work into this thing so far, and I'm even close to being done with it. It's pretty cool. I think, at least to me so far, it's been pretty cool working on it. So I'll see what you guys think. It should be out within the next month. But yeah, once again, that's going to be it for this week. I want to thank you as always for watching, and check us out right back here next Saturday for another episode of Perfect Recall.